This is LG's flagship TV, the absolutely stunning Z10 OLED, and it costs $30,000 US. But why is it so expensive? It's not just because it's 8K. That doesn't account for it. It's not because it's OLED either. It's not even just that it's 88 inches diagonally. It's because it's all of these things at once. So let's play a game. Let's pretend you're in the market for a unicorn TV like this one, and you've stacked up enough Benjis to afford it. Is it amazing enough to pull the trigger? Or should you just wait for something just about as good to be available for a fraction of the price in a couple of years? Or should you just buy something from our sponsor, Ridge Wallet, instead? Ridge Wallet wants to redefine the wallet with its compact frame and RFID blocking plates. Check out how they can keep your wallet bulge down and use offer code Linus to save 10% and get free worldwide shipping at the link below. The LG Z10 is available in two sizes, but they're not identical products. The $20,000 77-inch value offering sits on minimalistic metal feet or on the wall via the vase mount, but that is not the case with the 88-inch. It has no wall mounts and must be sat on this 137-pound stand. So I hope it either matches the stuff you already have, or you have deep enough pockets to just go buy new stuff to go with your new TV. Anecdotally, I do know of some companies that have successfully wall-mounted this monstrosity, but it required some custom metalwork and ripping out the power cables that LG has routed through the stand, so you would have to be prepared for that. It also means that the TV's forward-firing integrated speakers will be shooting downwards, since LG relies on this dinky reflector to make their 80-watt 4.2-channel audio solution sound its best. Losing that is a real deal breaker. I'm kidding. Although the built-in speakers actually sound okay for a flat screen TV, please, for the love of all that is holy, do not spend $30,000 on this thing and then not use real speakers. Please. On that subject, let's talk about the kind of room this TV makes sense in. For most Netflix and chillers, 88 inches is a pretty honkin' big TV. But for the home theater crowd, it's actually on the small side. That market typically uses long throw projectors to get screen sizes of 120, 130, even up to 150 inches. Of course, it's not really about the physical size of the image, but rather about how much of your field of view that the image occupies from your seat, which is why it's perfectly acceptable for a cinematic experience to just put your phone right here. I was kidding about that too. Now, most regular people tend to be comfortable with about a 30-degree viewing angle, but in a home theater, you want more like 40 to 46 degrees occupied by the screen for better immersiveness. That would put your main viewing position less than 9 feet away from the Z1088. That's pretty reasonable, but if that were the case, I probably wouldn't want to be in the second row of seats. That's often recommended to be about 6 feet behind the front row, so people can recline without feeling Uncle Bo's breath on their neck. LTDstore.com. Although I did hear they have great water bottles. Unfortunately, that second row seat nets you a field of view that's smaller than THX's bare minimum recommended figure of 26 degrees. So why then would anyone spend $30,000 on an OLED TV when they could get a high-end projector and a fantastic screen, not to mention some comfortable seating, for half the price? Well, a big part of the answer has to do with light control. OLEDs are well known for their amazing blacks. Not only is it impossible for projectors to equal the black levels of an OLED, they can't even approach them unless you have complete light control in your theater room. This means you need a windowless or perfectly draped room, and even the walls and ceiling of the room need to be painted as close to black as your spousal unit will allow, so that the light from the brightest parts of the image doesn't reflect around the room and wash out the darker parts. And while the Z10 isn't as bright as some LCDs, it is bright enough to use all day long, even in a white-walled, sun-drenched room, while also having unrivaled picture quality. But forgive us for this video not feeling as much like a review as you might expect. The fact is that there's just not much for us to say because the OLED panel in the Z10 is very similar to what we've seen in all LG OLEDs going back to at least 2017. Just bigger brighter, and of course, 8K. Now you might initially dismiss the 8K-ness as a non-feature, given that there's no 8K movies or TV to watch. I mean, heck, even the Olympics, which were going to be broadcast in 8K, well, at least in Japan, have been postponed, making a huge part of this TV's cost, basically a deferred investment into the future. But that's not completely the case. For starters, the Z10's Alpha 9 Gen 3 processor claims to be able to upscale any content to 8K. Although, I really wasn't able to see much difference, and anyway, more importantly, gamers should note that the RTX 3090 is 8K capable today, and in my experience, it's pretty sweet. This is without a doubt the highest fidelity gaming I have ever experienced. Just bear in mind that I had to sit much closer to the screen than most people would to appreciate the difference in image sharpness and the capableness of even the fastest gaming system in the world is going to vary drastically from game to game. Doom Eternal happens to be both beautiful and incredibly well optimized. And of course, you'll be able to run esports titles, particularly the ones that support native 8K, at 60 frames per second. But anything other than that is going to be relying on upscaling tricks like NVIDIA's DLSS, just like your TV and movie content. Oh, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AMD's new flagship graphics card, the 6900 XT. It's not specifically marketed as being 8K capable, but until we try it, we won't know for sure. So make sure you subscribe for that. It's probably pretty hard for something to look outright bad on this TV. We're just trying to say you need to manage your expectations for how consistently it's gonna blow you out of your seat. At least for the next couple of years or so, while we wait for a new generation of graphics cards, or for console developers to fully leverage the Series X and the PlayStation 5's ability to output 8K. Of course, if we do get AAA games at 8K, they will probably be capped at 30 FPS. And of course, all of the Z10's gaming features, like variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode, are enabled by its HDMI 2.1 ports, of which it has 4. However, beware, they don't all have the same bandwidth capabilities or features. Only one of the ports is labeled eARC. That's normal. But what's not labeled and not normal is that ports 1 and 2 support HDMI 2.1's full 48 gigabit per second bandwidth, while ports 3 and 4 only support 40 gigabit per second. Now that's still a lot. It's the same as Thunderbolt 3, so you'll have no problem gaming on your new console at 4K 120 Hz with Dolby Vision HDR enabled and no chroma subsampling. It's gonna be glorious. But it could be a limiting factor when you're gaming at 8K. On the lower bandwidth ports, you're gonna be limited to 8K at 30 Hz, which might be all that your GPU or console can push anyway. But you'll also be limited to 8-bit color, which is less than ideal for the 10-bit panel LG's OLEDs use, and less than the wide color gamut required for HDR. Alternatively, you could do 8K 60 with 420 subsampling, with all the fringing that entails, but at least at 10-bit. On the 48 gigabit per second ports though, you should be able to get 8K 60 with no chroma subsampling up to 12-bit, if NVIDIA's testing is anything to go by. That's pretty darn future-proof right about now. Bear in mind though that at the time of writing, you can't get this configuration working on any of the Z10's ports until LG issues an upcoming firmware update that takes advantage of display stream compression, which I'm told will be amazing, and if their quick response to the G-Sync issues on the rest of the Z10 lineup is anything to go by, makes me think that maybe LG is finally starting to clue into the importance of TV firmware support. Please keep it up, you guys. These shouldn't be like a one and done. So then, should you buy this TV? Well, assuming that you're not shook by the price tag, the Z10 represents the absolute cutting edge in terms of picture quality, feature set, and size. Unless you want to spend at least 5 times more and get some kind of micro LED installation. But in terms of solutions that arrive to your house in a box, this is about as easy as it gets. You don't even have to calibrate it. Just set it to ISF or filmmaker mode, and you're done. Filmmaker mode in particular is fantastic because it automatically turns off motion interpolation and all of the advanced AI processing enabled by the display's Alpha 9 Gen 3 processor, which, as I mentioned already, was nowhere near as good as the upscaling that NVIDIA's Shield is capable of. Though it should be noted that the current gen Shield can only upscale to 4K, not to 8Ks. Grr. Okay then. How about if 30 grand is maybe manageable, but you know, like still closer to car money than lunch money? Then honestly, I'd recommend buying several 77-inch GX OLEDs instead. G10,
Just keep that in.
I hate this, I hate it so much. Why did Apple do this to the industry? G10 OLEDs instead, and put them all over my house, because the Z10's inflexible mounting and stand make it honestly more of an art piece than an actual TV, and 8K just isn't going to be that important that often until we get into screen sizes that are, well, more like projector screen sizes, 150 inches. In fact, actually, while you're at it, you might as well just drop down to C10s, because the only difference is the wall mount and the internal speakers, which, by the way, you still shouldn't use anyway. That'll give you more money to buy an NVIDIA Shield, since even the Z10 still has a 100 megabit per second Ethernet connection, because apparently nobody at LG has ever heard of streaming 4K Blu-rays over Plex. As for the theater use case, I think due to its small size, those folks are probably gonna pass over this in favor of continuing to roll their projectors. That is, unless of course they don't have enough friends to fill a second seating row. As for my friends, well, they're my sponsors. Anytime we buy anything online, we give access to our personal information to merchants and their data partners, and this happens without our clear consent. It's important to ensure that your online presence is safe and secure, and privacy.com is an important part of your toolkit to do just that. It makes it easy to manage your financial life online, allowing you to keep your most important information secure. By generating virtual card numbers, privacy masks your real bank information, so you never have to worry about giving it out to people you don't know online. You can create up to 12 cards a month on their free personal plan, and their pro plan is just $10 a month, gives you 1% cash back, and up to 36 cards a month, plus more security and privacy features. Privacy.com is PCI DSS compliant, uses military-grade encryption, and offers two-factor authentication. And since they make money from merchants and not from you, there's no cost to you at the free tier. So if you sign up today, you'll get $5. Check it out today at privacy.com/Linus. That's privacy.com/Linus. If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe check out the 8K gaming experience. I actually mistakenly said that we had a Z10 in that video. It was actually a Z9, but as far as we can tell, it's the same damn thing.